Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. Again, a wild market. Nuts, nuts, nuts. It's October 17th. Welcome to my channel. Now, Prump. That could be a word. Pump and Trump. Trump was just talking. So was Hassett, the White House advisor. And Trump's like saying these tariffs are unsustainable. We'll make a deal. Blah, 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 blah. So that's pumped the markets up. Markets were gapping down a big, a lot. It was down a lot. Now we're back, all the way back in the Nasdaq specifically, to almost to 248s, which is like the most traded price of the month. That's like pretty much the reversion to the mean. Today is OPEX, monthly options expirations today. So a lot of money is going to come off the books, right? That usually sometimes that signifies a change after an OPEX. So we'll see. We had regional bank scare yesterday from Western Alliance and this, I think, Zion with bad fraudulent loans. So that's putting a scare. Jamie Dimon said usually there's not only one cockroach. There's like a bunch of headlines going across the news. But like I said, Trump was just talking and the market started ripping back up. And basically, yeah, this is going to make the market very wild today. We were gapping down. Now we're back inside yesterday's range. Almost like nothing happened. So this was all overnight scare, credit market. So, like this is what was scaring them. Now there's a reprieve, and this doesn't really. It's going to make trading very difficult today. Now that we're back to like the mean, especially in the Nasdaq. So we'll get into all this today. All right. Um, Yesterday I was live in my room in my Discord, and I had my biggest trade that I've ever had when I don't scale out. I've had more. I think I've had bigger trades points wise, but I've usually scaled out in the past, and I'm not scaling out anymore. So this was like a 40 point winner on a 7 point risk, almost a 6R trade. Like so, you could say almost close to 600% return. So one of my members of my community was able to see that live, and it was pretty cool. I thought that move would happen, and I'll get into it a little bit of why I took it. I'm going to make a video as well. Just haven't had a chance to take the two videos, um, but that was pretty cool. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, find profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That is the way I come up with game plans and structure and in the markets. Okay. Also use Anchor View Ops, which tells me who's in control from a certain point in time. I use Market Internal to let me know once the market opens who's in control, what's the market capable of. That was key in my short yesterday. Um, I also use Bookmap. Now, Bookmap's like when it's super, super volatile, it's really not a handy tool. It's really not. Um, Obviously, I watch it, but when the market's wild, it's you got to go with structure more or less than looking at little order flows. Um, as well as my weekly expected move indicator. Okay, you can get that for free on my Discord. Now, the only two stocks that's hit the expected move to the upside has been AMD, Broadcom. Okay, I don't think anything has moved to the downside to the expected move at all. So, just wild markets we have. Really, really wild markets. Now, hopefully, you guys join me every day, every morning, and give you the market story. What's going on in the markets, the recent headlines, economic calendar, leaders and laggards, just basically why the market's doing what it's doing. And like I always said, I've been saying all week, you're a fool to predict in this market. It's just a fool's errand. I've been saying it all week. We're inside that bar Friday. We've been going up and falling, going down and going up. There shouldn't, I don't have any confidence in what is going to happen in this market. Nothing. Zero. Now look what just happened. We were just gapping down big time, and now we're ripping back up because of what Trump said. That's the market we have. I can't be highly convicted at all, other than, you know, a day trading, scalping, like I've been doing the SPX credit spreads. Right now, I had a beautiful, obviously, futures trade yesterday, but phew, this market changes on a dime. Okay, on a dime. Not easy when the volatility is super high. I was able to get my short in when the volatility was not insane. It was like, I think it was like 10 point ATR, I think, when I got in, which is pretty still, or 9, something like that, I believe. We can check that later. All right. Okay, now if you want the more in depth, now yesterday, just to give you an example, I actually forgot to say that I was live in my channel, but I was live and a couple people were in there. And when I'm live, I'm talking constantly. I'm constantly talking. So it's not as easy to just sit there and keep updating a channel because I'm live and I'm giving live commentary. And like I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot to like post my trades. Um, and so, but if you want to get that live commentary and the free indicator, you're going to join my Discord. Okay, Discord is Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, sign up. What are you waiting for? Okay. Yesterday, I want to point this out. Now I don't have proof because it was live, right? But remember how in there, a member that was also in there with me heard me talking early on in the session, and I said this market is not strong. We're not. This just doesn't look like we're going higher. Now I had a SPX put credit spread on at 66.80, which was the gamma flip point for yesterday, the 0 DTE in the SPX. I put it on. It just started making money as soon as we started going up. And then I said, okay, we have a balanced profile, and market internals are not strong at all. And I was like, I do not trust this. So I took it off. Took some money from it, and I go, I don't trust this market at all. And I said, this is either the range for today, but this is a small range, and volatility is up, right? So I said, we either hold the 67.15s, and I took a long, got 7 points right off the bat, and I was like, oh, nice, okay, cool. We could have a range day in here, and I probably should have went to break even after the 7 points because I think I had a 5 point risk. But I thought, I'm gonna get the move, and I got stopped, right? So I was like, okay. Next move was the another short off of where I got the big 40 point winner, and boy, I took that short at 67.09, I believe, and and just started ripping. And that's where I hit that huge trade, 40 points. I think I was up almost 47 points at one point, 48 points. And I wasn't gonna. I trailed my stop. My target was like the previous low day, and I wasn't gonna let that go back on me once I went over 30 something points. So beautiful trade. All right, we'll go over it in a little bit. Okay, we'll go over it in a little bit. Now, why don't we just get right into futures watch list here? Now looks a lot different than when I started charting in the morning. I mean, we're down. Look at it now. ES is flat. Crazy. Okay? Crazy. This market's just crazy. It really is. That is really a crazy market. All right, 10-year yield. We're under 4%. We went to 3.7, I believe, at one point. All right, gold. Whoa. Uh, Gold, 10-year yield is up. Gold is up 0.17. Dow's up 0.15. Crude, I'm looking at crude. Crude's been tanking. I'm really looking at an option strategy for crude. I've been saying that, right? I just needed to bottom out a little bit for me to throw something on it. All right, dollar's up 0.08. ES is flat. That is crazy. Okay, we were down to 65.71.25. 65.71, almost 100 points. It's like 90 points lower just before. Nasdaq's down 0.20. 30-year bonds being sold. Russell's down 0.30. That regional banks should. That's why the Russell's still the weakest, because of the regional bank scare. Ethereum down 1.87. Bitcoin down 2.24. Okay, silver's down 2.57, and the VIX is down 5.93. Interesting. Okay, the VIX is down 5.93. So that VIX was, I have to assume the VIX was up a lot more, because now it's down. Okay, because of this, Trump started talking, and Hassett was talking, and it was like all about China and the tariffs are not sustainable. We're going to make a deal, and it just propped markets back up. Okay, now moving over to the Mag 7 Plus here. Leader, JP Morgan, up 0.66. Netflix up 0.31. AMD up 0.20. Laggard, Nvidia down 0.69. Coinbase with Bitcoin being down 1.69. Eli Lilly is the laggard, down 3.83. Okay, top sectors. Exxon is up 0.69. Goldman Sachs up 0.65. Chevron up 0.45. So energy getting a little bit of a push here. That's why I'm saying I might look. This market's crazy. It's starting to even go much up higher now. Let's look at the laggards here. Laggard, we got United Healthcare down 1.16. So I wonder what's going on with healthcare right now. Knowing that Eli Lilly is down, United Healthcare is down. Oracle down 2.32, and the miner NEM that's been rocketing is down 2.80%. Let's look at the granular list. Let's look at what's going on. Now, what I did notice, I'll show you this in a second here. So Ally Bank reported earnings. They're up 5.07. IonQ Quantum Computing's up 4.22. Western Alliance, that's the regional bank that was hit yesterday, that's up 3.1%. Also, Hassett was saying regional banks are fine, blah, 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 fine. So there's your KRE, that's your regional bank ETF. That's up 2.60%. Now, I don't know if Oklo was meteoric, and it finally pulled back yesterday. A lot of those stocks that are high flyers pulled back yesterday. American Express. All right, now let's look at laggards. Viking Therapeutics down. Gold Junior Miners is down. Riot's down 2.86%. Oracle. I can get rid of Oracle in this list because I have them here. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. Bitcoin ETF's down. HIM's down. SoundHound down. Mara down. That's what we're looking at today. This was a lot different earlier. Okay, let's look at sectors. Who's leading this morning? Financials up 0.58. They've been having good earnings. Okay. Obviously, regional banks, no. But energy up 0.34. Semis is your laggard today. Down 0.929, and XLK technology down 0.25. This was a lot worse before. This is nuts where we are now. This makes it very difficult now to look to this market to trade. Even more. Now, we could chop. It's OPEX. Pretty crazy. Okay, pretty crazy. Let's move on to the economic calendar. There's not much to show here. Okay. Let's see here. Fed. I don't know. I always miss this guy's name, but Musalam. It's 12:15. That's about it, folks. And then on the financial juice, let's see. No, there's really no Trump stuff. Okay. And let's look at some stock news here. Let's just see. Let's go back to the beginning here. Here we go. That's what I wanted to see. All right. So, Fifth Third Bancorp stock rose 1.9 after U.S. Regional Bank reported a 14% jump in third quarter profit. Okay. Regions Financial stock gained 0.9 after London reported a rise in third quarter profit. American Express stock gained 0.4 after the credit card giant raised the lower end of its 2025 profit and revenue forecast. Truist Financial stock gained 2.8 after the regional lender reported third quarter 20. All right, so other regional banks are not reporting these bad loans. Okay. Eli Lilly, here we go. This is why healthcare. Eli Lilly stock fell 3.9 after President Donald Trump said he would bring down prices of weight loss drugs. There you go. Novo Nordisk should probably be down as well. Let's see here. Autoliv stock fell 1.5 despite the world's largest producer of airbags and seatbelts reported a third quarter adjusted operating profit above market expectations. Oracle stock fell 2.4 after the soft brokerage euphoria unveiling a soaring long-term financial look, which was being powered by sky-high demand that is really hard to comprehend. Okay. Micron stock fell 1.2 after readers reported that the chipmaker was planning to stop supplying server chips to data centers in China after the business was slapped with a government ban in 2023. Wow. Okay. More market news. Here we go. Global bank stocks slide as U.S. credit risks spark reality check. Global financial stocks slid as a rout in U.S. regional banking shares heightened concerns about credit quality and mounting risks. Well, that's been, I'm not saying a race, but that's been a little bit taken care of this morning. Starbucks investors urge company to restart union talks. Meta set to clinch nearly $30 billion financing deal for Louisiana data center site. Interesting. Meta. Let's see here. Yeah, see, Novo Nordisk also fell because of the weight loss. Okay. Let's see, Charles Schwab, JP Morgan raises target price to 121 from 119. Mondelez International, JP Morgan cuts target price to 74 from 75. Oracle, Jeffrey raises target price to 400 from 360. Interesting. Interesting. Let's see, picture of the day. What is that? Oh, Mandani. All right. Let's look at if there's any upgrades and downgrades today. Upgrades, Freeport, McMurran. Zion got an upgrade. Interesting. Downgrade. ASTS got a downgrade. Interesting. Okay. Boom. Let's look at breath real quick. Whoa. 33% of stocks are only above the 20-day simple moving average. Interesting. So this has been weakening. Okay. Frothy levels are above like 85%. We're going down here. Now, if we continue to go down, that should be interesting, right? Very interesting there. All right. Now let's have a breath look at. Okay. Now, let's look at daily charts. All right. Here's our good old SPY. So yesterday, remember yesterday I said this could be a swing high, right? And we keep battling this 20-day and 9 EMA on the daily. 50-day moving average right there at 554, right? Still within last week's range. That's the orange. We're still below last month's highs, right? We tried 2 times to get inside this balance range and we could not do it. Remember what I said, this could turn out to be a balance area, and that's what seems to be happening. That's what seems to be happening. Okay, where are we now? 660.70. 660.70 is right around the close of yesterday, which makes the SPY flat. Okay, right at yesterday's close. Right now, let's look at futures. Okay, you can see the failure here in futures to get above last month's highs, to get into this balance range. This is a daily supply level, so that has been rejected there, resistance. Now look at this wick. Look at that. That is pretty significant. Okay, so this candle from the overnight took out 1, 2, 3, 4 days. It ripped all the way back down, not to Friday's lows, but took out all of these, and now you got a hammer. So this just, it means the market does not know what it wants. Okay, the market does not know what it wants, and either do I. I don't know. Okay, this has been our playground. Okay, it's a wild balance area. It's wild. Okay, I cannot make sense of this. What I do know, okay, what I do know is this is how the days have been going. Why is that not giving me that? Interesting. Let's try that again. All right, hold on a sec. I'm just trying to get my marker correct, but let me just exit it. Let me restart it. So to reiterate, part of why I traded the way I did yesterday, had that big trade, right? So what have we been doing, right? After this big day? Well, we opened up in futures. This is futures. So we opened up, gapped up from this big candle, right? Pushed up, fell apart. Let me get a different color. Okay, so we gapped up, right? Went right here. The next day, we opened, pushed up, fell down, and then got bought up. Indecision, right? The next day, we opened here, we pushed up, and did this wild, right? Next day, we opened up, pushed up, closed here. Right? That was yesterday. And now look at today. We opened here, right? Pushed all the way down, and now we're back inside this mess. You tell me if anybody has confidence of what the heck the market's going to do next. No. That's why I'm in no swing positions. Okay, that's why I'm in no swing positions at all. At all. Okay. Just there's not a lot of edge other than what I just said, recognizing how the market has been moving. That's all we can really do. Wick, wick, wick on the top, wick on the bottom. Look at this hammer. So what, if I'm short here from yesterday and I'm waking up and going, oh, this is, and what, wait a minute. We could very well go back up here today. That would be crazy. Okay, let's look at the Qs. Okay, here's our Qs. Now the Qs, because of AI and stuff that happened, and look, we were trying to go into last month's above last month's highs. Got rejected, right? So yesterday you came down and tested the previous day's lows and got bought up. Okay, got bought up. All right, came into this daily supply zone here. So we mark off this daily supply zone, which is pretty powerful here, right here. You can see how that came to fruition here. Came right into this daily supply zone. Whoop. Went all the way down to here. Okay. Now, where are we at now? We are at 598.80. 598.80. We are right here. We're at the lower 30 yesterday. Okay, lower third of yesterday. Let's look at futures. Look at this mess. That's a mess. That's a mess, folks. That is volatility at its finest. I mean, look at this. Wick, 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 hammer. Right off almost a 50-day moving average. Look, you came down to this low perfectly. So mark this level down. We'll look at it later. This is now considered a confluence low, 24418 around in the Nasdaq futures. Literally got bought off this right here. Crazy markets. This is going to make, and look where we are in the bodies of all these candles. It's just you're back to a traffic jam. Makes it very hard. The only thing I can say is, boy, I know shorts took profits and I knew new longs came in, and we could very well find ourselves up here today because we're back in the middle. And if this little messy balance area, like if this little messy balance area, right? This is like our little area. Okay. Just came down to here. There's no reason we can't come back up to here that 25104 is about today. Right? That would just mean, unless something happens, comes out or something. Now, the one thing I'll do, the triple headed monster hasn't meant much yet. 10-year yield has broken this level. See, it came all the way down to 3.93 yield, and it's recovered since. So we'll have to see. Look at your dollar. The dollar is very hard to understand what that dollar's trying to do. Bottoming out, I still feel. We tried to get up here, and we fell back. Who knows? Look at the VIX. That VIX. Yep. See that spike? Look at that spike. That was at a high of 20, almost 29 VIX. And we're all the way back down to a 23. All the way back down on a 23. Unbelievable. Really is unbelievable. Okay. And as far as my Broadcom, my butterfly hat on yesterday, I put all this stuff about regional banks and what you call it. Yeah, all that stuff. I was like, you know what? I have some money in this butterfly, and I don't trust. I don't want to, because the butterfly, you have to be right on today. Okay, it was expanding. Now, this came, and then yesterday I was like, okay, let me get out after this pop. I was like, I don't trust it. Now, this morning, Broadcom was down to like 347, like down here. I was like, all right, glad I got out. Now it's back to 352, which when the market opens, it will probably have a nice, as the day goes on, that would have been nice. But I just took it off. Okay, so look, it hit its expected move on Monday, and see how it hasn't really, because it was all the juice was there already. AMD is the other one. You can see it hit its expected move yesterday. See that? We'll hit it right there. And it doesn't have much juice left. Okay? So that is some of the stocks, okay, that I'm looking at. Now again, I don't have any confidence in swing plays right now. None. Really have no clue what's going to happen. Okay? Let's look at market internals. And yesterday, I'll explain what I saw yesterday. Now I want to show you from the open here till about 11:20. Let's zoom in on that. Market internals were, I would say, actually till like 11:15. Let's say. Let's zoom in on those. This is the open, right? I want to show you something. All right. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. So market internals off the open. This is yesterday, right? Am I going crazy? Yeah. This is not weak. All right, let me put it here. Okay. This is not weak. Right here. Right. And what the market did, opened, and then all of a sudden started to turn up. Right. And then let's get this here. Okay. Let's put that. Okay. Right there. Right there. Okay. So while we were doing this, I'm looking at this, and when I was live, I was like, guys, this move up is not strong. Was not strong at all. It was just not. Look at these internals. They were showing you nothing. And I said, we have a good shot of testing back at the lows. And this could be the range, or it could be a sign to get weak, right? And then this is where I got long in futures here, and I got that move, boof, but then I got stopped, right? And then this is where my futures trade came in. But look at the weakness come in. That is pretty significant weakness coming in. And then ultimate balance, the move from ultimate balance, 67.15s in futures, was the difference. Okay? Look at all this blood red up here from the internals. Let me go to the 930. Right there. Let me change that. Give me 1 sec. I just want to make sure I have this set for me for the open. Okay. Was that from yesterday's open? No. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Sorry. Right at the open I want. Right there. All right. Beautiful. All right. So everything was red. All right. So that kind of degraded fast. That's your market internals. All right. Let's look at the hourlies, which is just a mess. Just a mess. Here's your hourly charts. All right. So this is what we got going. All right. Hourly charts, ES, wild markets. Right. This was Friday session, and then the Wild West. All right. Now look what we did. Right. Took out that low here earlier today, this morning. And then Trump started speaking, and I saw this. Whoop. Okay. Now I have an anchored VWAP from the highs from yesterday. It's about to meet it. Okay. This right here. Let's look through this. Let's put a fib on here, right? So we have this messy balance area, right? Let's put a Fibonacci on the highs of this area to the lows of this morning. Look at that. Look at that. You can't make that up, right? 50% of this whole range now. That's where the market had resistance, at the 50% mark. Crazy, right? That's why I said this is difficult now. You're back at the middle of this crap. Back at the middle, right? Let's do one more step further. Let's do a volume profile from this week. Okay, that looks pretty balanced, right? Your most traded price, no shocker, was the 67.15s. That's why I have it on my chart here, right? That was ultimate balance. Okay, that is ultimate balance. So you can see value area is the highlight here, right? It's this. We're back inside value. That's what I'm saying. This is the meat of the move, the volume. We're back inside the value. Makes it difficult, right? 50%, I just showed you. Okay. Now, let's see if there's any significance here. Not really. There's so much volume here. These are low volume nodes, but not really. These are the real more low volume nodes, like in here. That's a pivot point. So, and to use volume profile, let's see. You got resistance here, right? This should be a pivot point. Look at that. Support, support, and then resistance, right? So that's how the low volume nodes work. Same thing here. You should see little time spent here. Look, support, resistance, they become pivot points. It's a beautiful thing. And then this is the other thing, right? Low volume node. And then you can look at the top of these shelves as support, resistance as well. So this is pretty balanced, right? Look, this is a pretty balanced profile. That's why I'm saying we're in the middle of the mess now. Now, the one thing that happened this morning, if you know about structure, this is very orderly selling all the way down. Now, what I must say about that is this is the only area where there was some consolidation. If we go like this and do this, this can be cleaned up. This can go right back to 67.15 and stop here. Okay? So be careful of that. Don't think that can't happen. It can. Okay? Because look, I want to show you other past moves of that. Look at this orderly move down. Look what happens. You clean that right back up. You notice how that happens? Look at this orderly move up, cleaned right away. Orderly move down, cleaned up right away. This can easily do this today. Now, on the other part here, we can easily do this as well. Because look how much time was spent to go down here. Look, we just boom, boom, boom. This could easily do this as well. So tricky market. Okay? Tricky market. Now I'm looking at crude. I'll just show you crude real quick. This is a 4-hour chart. Look at that. This is what I want to see. This is a 4-hour chart. Okay? I want to see. This is now. You might be bottoming out here. Okay? I want to see some consolidation here, and I'll probably put some kind of long on here in futures options for crude. I'm waiting. Okay? All right, let's look at NASDAQ futures. Boom. Now this is even a nicer chart, to be honest with you. The NASDAQ. Okay? The NASDAQ actually is more orderly. Because look, you have highs here, lows. Look, this is the gap up, but look, it pretty much is a nice balanced area. Okay? And we know we have the 248s, the most traded price of the rolling month. It's getting resistance right here in this supply zone. Okay, now this supply zone, this has been taken out, so I'm going to get rid of this. But this is a big one. All right, see this consolidation? That's why it's getting stopped. All right. So I have an anchor view up right here, week-to-day view up here, month-to-day the anchor view up here. So as I didn't go over that in ES, but as long as this is red, sellers are in control of the month. Sellers are in control of the week. But notice, here's the notice. They're flat. You see that? They're flat. Week-to-date VWAP. See how it's just flat? That tells you balance. They're not skewed down like this or skewed up like this, right? We're in balance. Okay? Makes sense, right? 248 is a key level. It's a pivot point. Okay? It's a pivot point. Now, let's do the same thing. Let's put a volume profile on the beginning of the week when we gapped up on Sunday night. Boom. Okay. No shocker here. That's the most traded price of the week. That's why I have my little box there. That's your 249s, right? Then you have your 248s, the most traded price of the last month. Remember, I'm not doing the month. If I did the month, you can see the volume here. Okay. But this is a nice balanced profile. Oops, sorry. Okay. Very balanced profile. Very hard to trade this. Okay. Let's put a Fibonacci on the same thing we did with the ES. Okay, from the top into the bottom of this range. So this is the bottom. Actually, let's do it from here. Let's do it right. Let's go from the top. Top of this whole range, the bottom of this range. Oh, look at that. 50% Fibonacci. Right in the middle is the 248s. Okay. Right in the middle is the 248s. No shocker there. That's what I'm saying. We're right in the middle of this range. Hard place to be. Okay. And what did I talk about? Structure. Same stuff happens in the NASDAQ, right? Poor structure on the way up gets cleaned up, right? This is the way down. And then look at this move. Zoom. Look at that. Cleaned right up. We could also clean this up or take this out and clean that up. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense. Okay. That's your hourly charts. Not even sure who's with me. I don't even know if she comes in here anymore. Rosita, she's a very busy woman. But we're moving on. Okay. Let's go to the market profile, volume profile. And see the wildness in these markets. Now we'll get into the nitty gritty here. All right, we'll get into the nitty gritty. Alrighty. This is your market profile, volume profile analysis. All right, and we're going to look at the profile, right? We already did that, but the beautiful thing on my chart here is I don't have to draw it. It's just here. Nice balanced profile. All right. We know we were gapping down here, and we're now back inside the value of the last week. Very poor trade location. Okay, very poor. Okay, big gap down. But now we're not gapping down anymore. Okay, big gap down. Okay, we actually broke last week's lows right there in the ES. Okay, so how do we play it? Well, you go to the balance lows now, right here. Mark that off, right? Mark that off. Then we got our balance highs up here. And we know we're right at the 50% Fibonacci of this whole area right now. Okay, we have the 67.15s, the most traded price of the month and the week. Okay, we have supply right here at the overnight highs. Okay, you have the most traded price of the overnight 66.49s right here. Okay, so very tricky. Okay, this is not easy. You're in the middle of the muddle, as I call it. You're in the middle of this balance area. Horrible trade location. Horrible. Now, if you know balance rules, what I would say, the most probable today is that we go up. Okay, that's the most probable. Because once you went down and now you're back up, It's not going to take much to start pushing back up and the rest of the shorts cover. Okay. So, with that being said, let's get into scenarios. Let's break out this session. Okay. Let's start with the bull side here. So, what I just said, right? So, we're back. Yesterday's most traded price was like 6668. Okay. So, this in price action can make you feel a lot of different emotions, okay? But like I said, balance rules. We just came down here, took out the balance lows, you swept it. Now we're back up. I'm not saying we can't reverse. What I'm saying is most likely new shorts will load up here and try. Okay? So for this bullish case, what I want to see, okay, is a break of this supply, a break of the overnight highs. Okay? A break. Now, two things can happen here. Number one, if you break out here, you got week to day view up here. Let's say you hit that, pull back to yesterday's most traded price around the 6669. You hold that, that's a long. Target 6715 to start. That's your most traded price of the month. That's ultimate balance. Okay? Now, there's a lot of supply here. That ain't going to be easy. That could be the trade. But if you boom and start holding price and start working off, you could start to work off and try to go back to the balance highs. Okay? What else could happen, right? Is price. Let me get rid of this one line. It's bothering me. Okay. What also can happen? Price can pull back to the overnight VPOC, which is 6650. Let's call it. That could play little games and hold it. Breakout of this supply. And then pull back to the most traded price to go up. Okay? That's based on balance rules. All right? Now, if the market says, I don't like this bank's credit square thing, see this bar right here that's got thin volume? Remember what I talked about? Poor structure? This could really clean that up, right? Now remember, it's still a bull case. And what if we come down here and do this, right? This is where balance rules come in again. Because I still think we're indecisive, right? So I think this could be a bear trap. Break this low. What if you then recover higher low? Guess what's going to happen? All the shorts from here, or new shorts, are going to be like, I'm taking my profits, and then what can we do is we can rip back up. Okay? Because this market's volatile, is volatile, and we've done this multiple times. Where you're like, oh my God, look at the price action, and then all of a sudden, in a matter of 15 minutes, we're back. That's the longs. Shorts. Here we are. We're in supply, right? We're underneath yesterday's most traded price. Okay, we know we just came from balance lows. We know we have poor structure here. So, what could happen? Well, we could do one of these, come back up here, retest, or try to break out overnight highs, come back under most traded price, retest it, and this could be that most traded price of the over 6650. You go through that, this weak structure here is going to come falling down. And this thing's going to get panicked, and we're probably going to test the overnight lows here at 67.51s. Now, do we break out today? I don't know. We haven't really done it yet, but I think the target here could be a monster move if we do to around the 65.26. That's a high volume node. Honestly, that's probably the only short I'm interested in. Now I really have to be made a believer with internals that they get weak. That's the only way that I'm interested in that, because I still believe that, we could go higher. Now, I'll give you one more thing here, and I'll put it in yellow. This is a big caveat, okay? This could also happen. I want to make sure you understand this. This poor structure that's here, right in here. I want to make something very clear. If we come in here and you think shorts have the edge, right? And let's say market internals are not that weak, right? And we come into this area and you get support like this, that's bullish. This is bullish. You get support in this weak structure, that is bullish, and I'm going to probably want to go long. Remember I said that. Okay? Because I still believe that if we're in balance, you are going to lead back up. We just tested the balance lows, right? That's how it works. We'll have to see. All right, NASDAQ. Here we are in our NASDAQ. Remember, we had a nice, more balanced profile in the NASDAQ than we do in the ES. Very nice structure in the NASDAQ, believe it or not. Believe it or not. Okay. Let's look at our profile here. We already mentioned that it was balanced. Did we got a bell curve here? Yes, we do. Auctions complete, right? That's what I want to make sure you understand, that this is an equal distribution. That usually means the auction is complete. We just came down here and tested the lows of balance. Okay. So, let's look at some levels. We know we have a monster level at the balance lows. Balance lows. Let's call them the 244s. 244s. All right? It's an area. It's an area, folks. Doesn't have to be exact. Now we know we have the balance highs. What do we have here? We have the 25179s to the 25117s right here. Okay? And we have, of course, our 249s, the most traded price of the weeks, the most traded price of 248s of the month. Now, when you have ultimate balance like this, okay, big swings are going to happen. Big moves happen from ultimate balance, okay? Remember, this area is the most agreed price over the last month in the week. So the people who trade in here, long, shorts, are saying this is the most fairest price to do business over the last month in the week. So the farther when you move away from ultimate balance, the bigger the move, the more people are in pain. Okay, now, in this case, picture a seesaw. Ultimate balance is like the mean. It's the center of the seesaw. Okay? It's the center. And you have to look at it like this. Okay? Balance lows, balance highs, right? So as soon as we do this and you go underneath ultimate balance, it causes a push lower, right? But then like a seesaw, when you're in balance, you come back. And guess what? As long as you do this, you go back. Okay? And look what's happened this week. Right? Look what's happened. We've come above it, right? Kind of hung around it, pushed up, moved back. Moved at it, came down, moved back. Moved up, moved back. Here you held it for in the overnight. Came up, went through it, right? This is home base. That is home base. Okay. Oop. Okay. This is what I'm going to be looking at today. All right, let's break out the session, get into scenarios. Hope what I'm saying makes sense. I mean, like I said, you know, I know there's a couple people who watch the stream. I'm just hoping I make sense. I mean, I know I make sense, but I'm hoping it's understandable. Who knows? I guess the only important thing, it makes sense to me, right? All right, let's do it. I'm going to start with the bull side. Okay, price is here. Underneath the most traded price of the month, the 248s. Okay, we're in supply. There's a lot of trading that's going on here. I knew this would cause problems. Remember, 50% Fibonacci. We've talked about it. Okay, so if I'm a bull, right? Let's mark out our basically our single print area. This is the caveat. I'm just going to put this in here. Okay, this is what I want to see as a bull. I don't think it's going to be easy to rip through this. Now, early volume can do some stuff. Okay, what I'd like to see, all right, is okay, failure here, and let's say we push through. If we get support in these singles, okay, in this poor structure, anywhere in this poor structure, let's say we do this and we do this. That's a long. First target is a 248s, 249s, and then we're going to go for bounce highs. Okay. I don't really want to trade in this area. Okay, so this area to me is in between 248s, 249s. God, I don't really want to be starting a trade. Starting a trade there. That is a chop zone. All right. That's why, like just before, I said we can go to the balance highs. Now, if we do this, okay, push through chop, hit the month-to-day anchor VWAP, and hold this price, I think we have a nice move as well. Okay, now the bear trap one is, okay, take out this poor structure, come down, test last week's lows, and maybe do one of these. Whoop, right? Higher low. Now, balance rules are in effect, and I think you start to move back up to the mean. That's longs. That's longs, folks. Shorts. Okay, shorts. Now, we know 249 can act as resistance, right? We have a big supply zone here. Okay, so any move up into chop zone and a rejection and a retest of the 249s with weakness in the markets, you got the most traded price of the overnight right here. You're going to cut through, and now you have that poor structure, right? Rip through the poor structure. Then you have a little consolidation here. Okay, this is probably a demand zone actually. And that's going to be the test. You might get a little problems there, but if you start to get weak, you're going to go to balance lows. Last week's lows, 24384s. Okay? This is where the rubber meets the road. Either in balance, you're going to break out to lower down to the 242s and finally rip through this balance and finally break down, or you bounce. Okay? I'm only interested in that move. Okay? It could also do this. Look, this. I'm interested in the short. Right? So, that is your shorts. And you're done with the analysis today. Okay? Hopefully you enjoyed that. Smash the like button if you did. That would be much appreciated. And as always, I want you to join me every morning when I give you the latest news, the market story. Let me be your cup of coffee, your tea, your water, your podcast, whatever. I don't fluff anything. I'm not sitting here telling you I know what's going to happen. Trust me, it's a short. Trust me, it's a long. I'm telling you, this market does not know what it wants. And if you know somebody that knows what's going to happen, that's not true. Okay? It's not. This market is doing exactly what it's been doing all week. It doesn't know. It's uncertain. That's why we're in balance. And guess what's going to happen? Eventually, a major move is going to happen, up or to the downside. Okay? I have such low conviction on swing trades right now. Very low. All right? What we do know is we're getting big moves. Okay? That's what we do know. So get ready, brace yourself for today. It's going to be wild. It's OPEX. It's going to be wild. Now, sometimes in OPEX, you get wild opens, and then as the day goes on, the market likes to gravitate towards big gamma levels and pin to certain large gamma levels. Okay? Sometimes that happens. Last month it didn't happen. But a couple of months in a row it did happen where literally the market just pins to a big gamma level because the hedging, the dynamic hedging around that big gamma level just pins it to a large gamma. Okay? Don't know if that happens. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Okay? Now, everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade to trade. Hope everybody stays green. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Okay? And if I don't see you in my Discord, all right, that Discord is Confluence Trading. All right, please sign up, join the community, get that free indicator. Let me be your indicator. Let me be your indicator. I don't steer you wrong, folks. Trust me. If I go live today, just listen to what I'm saying. All right? You trade based on me, and the read is never wrong. Okay? I can't help if you don't execute, right? Or I don't execute because like yesterday, the second trade I had was a short and it was still the right analysis. I got wicked out by a tick and then I shorted again and got the 40-point winner. Okay? That's what makes trading hard. Very hard. And I wrote up something on my Discord about my trade reflection about how my growth in trading is maturing. Okay? Because nobody likes to lose. And yesterday, the first one, I probably could have went to break even when I had a 7-point excursion, but I didn't. Took a loss. Right? Second one, short, I got wicked. But I still like my analysis. I said this is going to move big, and it did. Right? So I said it. I wrote it in my Discord. It's like a muscle now, and like I'm letting that muscle develop now of being like, oh, I'm confident. This is worth the risk to take. If I take a third loss in a row, fine, because it's worth it. I've seen this trade, I think, once or twice before this week. I'm going to make a video about it, but I'm just saying, like, I was very highly convicted, and it was worth the risk. I would be more upset if it happened, and I was like, you knew that was going to happen. Not new, but the probabilities were there for it, right? So that's just something that's hard about trading. And you got to be at peace with certain times of uncertainty. That's what makes trading hard. All right. Now, everybody have a great weekend. Hopefully, I see you in my Discord. If I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys Monday morning. Now, Monday morning, I've got to see. I have a doctor's appointment in Philly. So, I probably should still do my stream in the morning. Okay. But I don't know how active I'll be in Discord. But anyway, everybody have a great weekend.